Breaking point or breakthrough point? That's the question we're asking ourselves this month, and it's a question inspired by Pam Grout's follow-up to her best-selling book, E Squared. It's called E Cubed. E Squared, 9 experiments to prove to you how, I believe she said, I left it at home, how miracle making really is your full-time gig. I was like, hey, that's pretty cool. So I checked it out and I did the first book. It's really awesome, you guys. So then book 2 is here, E Squared. And what she writes this work is about, she says it's about taking the wrecking ball to mental constructs that have imprisoned us for too long. Taking the focus off of the limited self we see in the mirror and putting it on the glorious field of potentiality that allows us to connect to all that is. It's about letting go, giving up old mental constructs and surrendering to the all-loving, all-powerful energy force that's bigger, bolder, brighter than anything you've yet seen. This sacred buzz is life itself, life which, no matter how many walls we erect, no matter how seriously we screw up, is always there waiting with arms open wide. The way she put that's so cool, right? It really kind of gets to the crux of things. And it probably goes without saying, but I'm going to say it, that the other book on which this month is grounded and founded is our beautiful, say it with me, Science of Mind by Ernest Holmes, in which he writes on page 233, if we would take time, once a day at least, to let go of all that is not true, doubt, distrust, worry, condemnation, and fear, and lay hold of life in its expressions of beauty, truth, and wholeness, we would be healed. Do you see a common thread in Pam Grout's and Ernest Holmes' statements? These two concepts form our work together this month, during which we're creating turning points in our lives, through our thinking, and those lead to different tipping points, not only for ourselves, but for the entire world. Okay, for clarity, let's review that. A tipping point is the moment at which there's enough critical mass for a major change to occur. And a turning point is that moment of decision, the moment we individually or collectively decide to make a shift, to head in a different direction, to not fall over the edge, to view things another way. And that decision results in a radically different outcome. Turning points result in different tipping points. Before we get into doing the work today, I want to briefly review our 5 old views versus turning point views that we discussed last week. Remember I said that they not only laid the groundwork for this month, but actually for our entire year. So they're worth reviewing. Old view 1, God is a judgmental man outside of me, determining whether or not I am worthy. This God is to be feared, and I have to be very, very good to gain favor with this God. I have to beg, plead, and bargain with this God. God's punishments are meted out here and in the afterlife. Turning point view 1. God is an energy of love and creation that flows through all, sustains all, surrounds all. In fact, is all. And that includes you. Old view 2. The world is a scary place. Our job is to put on armor and work like heck to stay one step ahead of everything that's out to get us. Turning point view. The universe actually has our backs and is constantly conspiring for our good by sending us blessings, gifts, and guidance. I like that one. Old view 3. Life happens to me. I'm an innocent bystander, a pitiful victim of circumstances, of weather, of disease, of my own dysfunction, of. Turning point view 3. Life emanates from me. I create my world with my thoughts, beliefs, and energetic frequencies. Old view 4, no pain, no gain. That was a phrase used by Benjamin Franklin. Who knew that? Anybody? I didn't until I wrote it down. And Jane Fonda is the one who made it popular when she had all of her, was it jazzercise? Was that Jane Fonda? Yeah, when she did that, it was no pain, no gain. So no pain, no gain. That is old view 4. Turning point view. There is no reason to struggle. Once we let go, when we surrender to the universal flow of life, life with a capital L will take over and handle the details. Old view 5. I am not worthy of a good life. I am inherently flawed, inherently bad. Yeah, no. Turning point view 5. My worthiness is not at stake. It never has been, and it never will be. Take that in. My worthiness is not at stake. It never has been, and it never will be. There is nothing required for me to be worthy. I am worthy simply because of who I am. So we'll get rid of all of those negatives. We now have turning point 1. God is an energy of love and creation that flows through all, surrounds all, is all. And that includes me. 2, the universe actually has my back and is constantly conspiring for my good. 3, I create my world with my thoughts, beliefs, and energetic frequencies. 4, once I surrender to the universal flow of life with a capital L, it will take over and handle all the details. And 5, I am inherently worthy simply because of who I am. Those are some big truths to swallow, right? But they're truths. So with those turning point views as our foundation today, we're going to experiment with the statement, God can only work for us by working through us. In The Science of Mind, on page 423, Ernest Holmes said, I would rather see a student of this science prove its principle than to have him repeat all the words of wisdom that have ever been uttered. In E Cubed, on page 51, Pam Grout writes, I believe that spirituality and abstruse concepts such as thought creates matter should be proven and not taken on faith. For years, these principles have made for stimulating dinner conversation and interesting sermon fodder. But because we've only been theorizing about them, not putting them into practice, our world has not been rocked in the radical way it needs to be. The fact that your thoughts are energy waves being broadcast out into this giant field of infinite potentiality is something that you should be aware of and deploying on a moment-by-moment basis. And let's give a few more examples from someone who countless millions of people follow and emulate. In the Bible, Jesus himself echoes this over and over again. First, Matthew chapter 21, verses 21 and 22. Truly, I tell you, if you have faith and do not doubt, not only can you do what was done to the fig tree, didn't want to give you the whole story, but I will some other time, but also you can say to this mountain, go throw yourself into the sea, and it will be done. If you believe, you will receive whatever you ask for in prayer. Just a little while later, in Mark chapter 11, 22 through 24, he says almost exactly the same thing, specifically in reference to the mountain moving. Then again, in John chapter 14, verse 12, Jesus says, truly, truly I say to you, whoever believes will also do the works that I do, and greater works than these he will do. Whoever believes will do these things and more. Or you may have heard it, greater things than I have done, can ye so do? They're all saying the same thing. The Buddha has said it. Swami Vivekananda has said it. Einstein has said it. Even J.K. Rowling of Harry Potter fame, she has said it. Over and over and over again through many, many conduits throughout the ages, they've expressed exactly the same thing. You have to believe it in order to see it. When you dream it, you achieve it. Thoughts are things. But if you truly want to see it, if you truly want to behold the power of belief, if you want to prove it to yourself, you've got to do the work. If you're familiar with 12-step programs, a phrase most meetings close with is keep coming back. It works if you work it. It does, my friends. So are you ready to rock your world and the world around you? Don't all say so at once. Are you ready? Yes. But Gina, you ask, how exactly are you going to prove it? I'm not. I've already proven it in my life, so I don't need convincing. I practice my proof production perpetually. See what I did there? Oh yeah, I had to go in there once I thought it. Once you think the big thoughts, you gotta commit them. Yes, I practice my proof production perpetually, and you all will too very soon. Anyway, I'm not going to prove it to you. You are going to prove it to you. We're going to do a couple of experiments in the next week, and when you come back next Sunday, my pops, Reverend Terry over here, is going to give you 2 more experiments. If, and I mean if, remember, you've got to work at it. If you do the experiments, if you give them your all, you'll know, capital letters, know that it's true, that it's real, that it is all yours for the taking. Before we talk about the experiments, I just want to touch on this real quick. There's nothing like having friends with you on the path of enlightenment to encourage and celebrate and challenge your personal perceptions, right? In fact, neuroscientists have discovered that humans reverberate to the actions and emotions of the people around them. Wouldn't it be great to reverberate with people who are spiritually aligned with you? People who can support you and whom you can support on your journey of unfoldment, of experimenting not just with what we're doing this month, but of manifesting your dreams and hopes and desires this year. Who here has heard of the master groups? They were really big, 10 years ago. big business movement. For those who haven't, imagine having a permanent group of people who meet regularly for the purpose of problem solving, brainstorming, networking, encouraging and motivating each other, and holding each other accountable to taking action to achieve their goals. That's a mastermind group. I can say that so well, can't I? A mastermind group. Now, DREAM. DREAM stands for you deserve your dreams, reach for the stars, expect the best for yourself and your teammates, align with source, and manifest your heart's desires. We're looking to start a dream team here. A dream team that hones and shapes that mastermind group idea in a different way, leading us to work together to really manifest our highest good so that we can become the embodiment of all that we're meant to be. So if this is something that you'd be interested in being a part of, please let me know after the service so I can start a list. Normally we'd have a sign-up sheet, but given our current global cootie crisis, we're going to do it verbally or via email. So holler, let me know. Okay, moving on to experiment 1. I know my dad has told this story before, but it's been in my head for like 2 weeks, and I realized just last night, this is what happens when you're proofreading late at night, right? I realized just last night that it's the perfect segue into the first experiment. So, did you know that rhinos have very bad eyesight? Even at 15 feet away, they can't tell a human from a tree. So even though being charged by a rhino is high on the list of things to fear in Africa, that's actually pretty low on the list of worries. Because when rhinos are spooked, instinct drives them to start running as fast as they can. And there's no disputing that 4 humongous tons of snorting rhino barreling your way with a very sharp horn seemingly aimed directly for you, that'd be terrifying. As my dad has recounted his cop and military friends saying, and fair warning, this is a little crude, but it's how I roll, it sums it up in a pretty dang relatable way. Having a panicking rhino charging toward you would be a pucker factor 10 scenario. But see, because rhinos are nearsighted, they're not actually charging at you. They're simply running as fast as they can in whatever direction they were pointed at the time they got spooked. All you really need to do is get your little puckered patootie out of the way, and you'll be fine. That rhino will continue in the same trajectory until he either wears himself out or realizes that he's no longer in danger. So what does that have to do with our first experiment? You wouldn't think it fits, but it fits. Our thoughts are like charging nearsighted rhinos. Once they get some momentum going, it's pretty hard to change their trajectory. This is true of all of our thoughts, both the positive and the negative, which is why our first experiment involves starting a new practice first thing every morning. As you rise out of bed every day, proclaim these words: something amazingly awesome happens to me today. Not something amazingly awesome could happen to me today. Not even something amazingly awesome is going to happen to me today. No, you need to state it as a fact. Like when you've been waiting for months or years, but you know you're finally going to that staggeringly expensive yet entirely inimitable and magical iconic amusement park. My trip to Disneyland happens today. Same energy, same excitement. Something amazingly awesome happens to me today. Say it with me. Something amazingly awesome happens to me today. That's a big thing. And how are you going to remember to do that? You are going to look inside the super fancy big white envelopes that some of our beautiful volunteers are going to pass out now. Surprise! And you're going to pull out the folded, laminated card that's paper clipped to the rest of the pages. When you get home, you're going to put that, it's folded to, you can stand it up. You're going to put it on your nightstand so that you see it first thing in the morning. And if you don't use a nightstand, put it somewhere that you can't miss it in the morning. Now, I was editing this after having a migraine that derailed all my plans for 2 days. So I was a little slap happy when I was going through it. And when I typed, somewhere you can't miss it in the morning, my mental picture was a thread hanging down from the ceiling and the card dangling right above someone's head. You're not going to miss it if you sit up and bop your face on it, right? This is how things go up in here. So now you've got a tangible, visible card to remind you to say that magical phrase every morning. Could we make it any easier for you? And this will work. But again, I say you are the one who has to do it. You have to do the work, because God can only work for you by working through you. This simple practice will take maybe 5 seconds to do, but it will prove to you that by changing the momentum of your first few minutes of the day, you can rewrite the script of your life. Grout writes, by cutting off the feeding tube to the blah blah soundtrack of negativity, you can begin to see real shifts in your day-to-day reality. Or said another way, by cutting off the feeding tube to the blah blah soundtrack of negativity, you can create a turning point, which automatically creates a new tipping point in your thinking, and you will see real shifts in your day-to-day reality. Talk about creating new neural pathways, new grooves in the brain. By thinking new thoughts, eventually your thoughts will automatically tip over into those new grooves. Kind of cool. Now, it's suggested in E-Cubed that you do this exercise for 3 days. But honestly, why just 3 days? Imagine the possibilities if we all did this every morning. Something amazingly awesome happens to me today. You just got to wait for it. And here's part 2 of experiment 1. During these same 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and ever, you're going to make a commitment to be grateful. In fact, choose to practice amazed gratitude for everything that happens. Everything. Even the stuff which might seem kind of icky in the moment it's happening, be grateful. You get a raise? Say, that's amazing. Thank you, universe. You get fired? That's amazing. Thank you, universe. You get stopped by the police? That's amazing. Thank you, universe. You lose 5 pounds. That's amazing. Thank you, universe. You gain 10 pounds. That's amazing. Thank you, universe. You get the picture? These 2 activities will change the trajectory of your runaway rhino thinking in the first seconds of your morning every day, and will set you up for our second experiment to prove this science, to prove that you are a creative being, which, if you recall, was turning point 3. I create my world with my thoughts, beliefs, and energetic frequencies. Experiment 2. So the second experiment will start on Thursday. It's another 3-day experiment. And we mentioned this before, but astrophysicist Bernard Hayes, in his book, The God Theory, wrote, ultimately, it is consciousness that is the origin of matter. energy, and the laws of nature. The purpose of our universe is for God to experience his potential. God in me, as me, is me. Think about that. The purpose is for God to experience his potential. Where's God? All around us, every moment. So, in honor of giving God a real bang-up experience filled with celebration and joy and magnificent fun, this experiment is intended to prove that your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs are reproduced in the events around you, events that we used to call coincidence or synchronicity. Did you really hear that? Your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs happen in the real world right before your eyes and throughout your lives. So for 3 days, starting Thursday, you are going to actively look for the following 8 things. And I made a little card for you to carry with you so you don't forget, because we've done this exercise once before and I forgot. So you can put it in your pocket and actively look for these things. Keep your eyes open and make the intention to draw these things into your conscious awareness. This means you are actively making the choice. I know I say it a lot. You need to make the choice in advance to invite these experiences into your conscious reality. The idea is that once you've placed your order from the universe, they'll show up as ordered. And just like you never doubt that Amazon will deliver to your doorstep whatever your most recent purchase is, you trust that the following 8 things are rushing your way. A belly laugh. Be from you or from somebody else. You know it'll make you smile either way. A toy from your childhood. Your favorite high school song. That took some thinking for me. The number 222, 222. A beach ball. A senior citizen in a fashionable hat. A smile from a baby. And a billboard with a message just for you. Something which really speaks to you. Keep track of both experiments on the lab sheets in your envelopes and bring them back with you next Sunday for the next 2 experiences that my dad's experiences is. The things that he's going to give you to do next week. So this is your work. This is the work that we all must do because it works when you work it. And no one can do it for us. And I recently heard a story which kind of sums up that point. The question this man was asked was, have you ever cheated on an exam? Here was the response. I'm a high school teacher, but this story is about my own high school math teacher playing us and cheating. It was an honors algebra/geometry class, and it was well known that Mr. D reused the same questions every year, just changing the order he put them in. He made a big deal of making sure that we all gave our exam papers back to him after we'd looked at our scores and gone over everything together to prevent cheating next year. Well, of course, some of my classmates got their hands on a complete set of tests from the previous year. Soon everyone had a set. So before each exam, we would sit together and make sure we knew how to solve every problem on that test so we could do it on the real exam with different numbers, no matter what order they came in. Years later, when I became a teacher myself, I saw Mr. D at a funeral. I confessed to him that that's what we used to do. He smirked and said, "Who do you think leaked the test packet to get you to study?" Mr. D had figured out that the kids won't study if the teacher suggests it. But if they think they're getting away with something, they totally will. So he managed to get a test packet out and circulating as contraband. Blew his mind. So if you want to create turning points in your life so that your life tips over into a life filled with God's love, peace, harmony, and plenty, are you willing to do the work? You've got the answers right there in your hands. You've got them in your heart. You've got them in your minds. You've got the power to get the proof. So are you ready? Make it happen. Thank you.